All right. Well, are we ready to break the internet, people? I'm not sure if I've got this set up right. I'll give some time for some people to get into the room. I was not planning on doing this, but I had a discussion with somebody earlier today where we was getting some work done to my truck. And I thought about it. And then I saw that they put the guys off of the space station onto a splashdown capsule. And I couldn't help but think the same thing everybody else thought when they started showing that vessel, that thing. Yeah, okay. Daniel Adam is Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went to the moon. They said they did. Oh, I'm about to break the internet. I believe it. Keep an open mind that you're here. Keep an open mind. And there's going to be a few things that's going to come out that may make you rethink that statement. So I'm going to give some time for about 1 million people to get into the room on this one. I've been waiting. Like I said, it's almost like they goaded me into doing this by the conversation I had earlier, conversations I've had with other people. And it's a religion. Okay, it is a religion that people believe in things with very little evidence or mostly on faith that they believe something they've been told. So you have to be real careful when you make statements and say that the earth is round and it's not flat. I tend to believe that you're correct about that, but I have to say something about that. I've never been above it. I have seen videos where they've shot rockets up and they hit something and they stop moving. I don't know about that. There's a few things that are odd. I could give you that, even though, but who am I to say either way on that? I have not traveled above the earth to have a bird's eye view, and for some magical reason, every video and every picture above the earth has to be altered. Okay, hashtag fake news. Yeah, okay, well, let me ask you a question. I'll ask you a question. Okay. Do you recall the astronauts saying that the moon is entirely gray and without any color? I'm asking you because you're in the room and you made that comment. Do you remember the astronauts saying that the moon is gray and there's absolutely no color? Now, before you even answer that, I'll give you a second. Don't hit the button yet. China sent a rover up to the moon and they have color pictures that came back. And there's brown and there's some gray, but there's brown. Well, isn't gray a color? Gray is a color, but oftentimes people associate gray with the absence of color. In other words, if you had a black and white television set, it's not really black. It's not really white. It's different shades of gray. Okay? So I would actually give an astronaut that if they said, well, it's a bland, not really color, not a broad spectrum of color. It was all gray. So if the dust is gray and the rocks are gray, okay, why does China have color images from the moon that came back from their rover? All kinds of different colors, mostly a tan and a brown. But the astronauts that were there say that it was gray. I'll go one further. I've got a lot of these things that are completely wrong that might change your mind. I'm not here to change minds. I'm just here to tell it how it is. We can't get past the Van Allen belt. They put one of our astronauts, it was either, I know that it was either Buzz Aldrin or it was Neil Armstrong. I think it was Buzz Aldrin. They put him on the space shuttle. It's my understanding that he went back up on the space shuttle and asked the captain of the space shuttle while he was up there. He said, "Hey, how come we can't take this thing to the moon?" And the commander answered him and said, "Because we can't get past the Van Allen belt, the radiation would kill us." This is in an aluminum craft, same as the capsule they went up there supposedly in, but also covered in tiles. Okay? And so there's a little issue that we can't get past the Van Allen belt. Okay? And there's another little issue that made it into a mainstream news article. Oh, John Glenn, okay. Because it weighs 80 tons and only carries fuel to deorbit itself. No, once you are on the way to the moon, you can slingshot around it and you'll actually come back faster. And you may not be able to land on the surface, but you can go to the moon, slingshot around it, and come back faster. And it would take no more fuel than you to be moving in that direction. So, yes, you can fly a shuttle around and to and around the moon, but you can't get through the Van Allen belt. You would die of the radiation. And the astronauts that went there, if they had went through the Van Allen belt, where there's a lot of radiation, then after that there is no protection from the sun and other stars' radiation and gamma rays, they would have came back. If they lived 3 days, they would have came back and died of cancer. I'll get to your comments in a bit because they're a little distracting. It's great that you're really interacting here. There's going to be a few more people in the room on this one, just a couple on the planet. But I wanted to go ahead and put this out there because they just took their top of the line. Okay, SpaceX has got us to where we now have an American-made return space vehicle. They won't call it a space vehicle. It's a drop-in. It's a Hershey Kiss drop. It's basically okay, hey, this will get you through the atmosphere and splashdown, right? All right. So it's a capsule. It's a return module. It's not a craft. But let's go with this for a second. Like I said, you can't take the shuttle to the moon, even though it could go there and go around. It cannot go past the Van Allen belt because of radiation. So it has tiles on it on both sides that protect it even more so than what was on the Apollo craft. Now, and I told you, I see comments coming up. I'll get to it. So the space shuttle is not protected enough to go to the moon. We are magically missing all of the telemetry data from NASA. NASA has zero telemetry data. Their claim is that the only way we could go back to the moon is if we reinvented everything and did everything all over again. So it's too hard. Oh, but we think we're going to maybe go to Mars. Well, there's a problem with that too. There's a problem with going to Mars too. Going past the Van Allen belt, that would be the problem. They can't get by it. And all of the gamma rays that would go through you would kill you. So, all right. So, recently in mainstream in the news, I would say it was maybe a year ago, a couple years ago. I'll find it. There's an article. And I want to say it was man, was it Norway or Sweden? I'm not sure which country we gave it to. But evidently we gave a piece of moon rock as a gift to that country. And this was, of course, back when they claimed to have landed on the moon. But that country had it tested, and it tested to be petrified wood. an ancient tree, not a rock. So unless there's trees on the moon that we have not been told about, that have been turned into petrified trees, we sold them or gave them a gift that was fake. That is your fake news that you spoke of. That's what I was going to get to. You want to say hashtag fake news. That is your fake. It's fake because it's fake, and news because it's actually news. I'll put a link up to that. I'll find it sometime tonight or tomorrow. I've got a lot of links on other videos I've needed to be putting up, but I'll find a link to that where they were complaining that, hey, this moon rock you gave us is actually a petrified tree. So some geologist who was scouring around for something that looked like a moon rock grabbed the wrong one, and now there's testing. It's kind of like DNA. It's kind of like how there's older cases that people find that now DNA disproves or proves someone to be innocent. So I said, hold your judgment. Like I said, easy on the comments for just a moment, because there's a lot more of that. So a country that we gave a piece of moon rock that we brought back from the moon, tested it, and it tested to be organic, and it tested to be petrified wood, not rock. So unless there's trees on the moon, so you got that, that didn't come from the moon, but it did come from NASA. It came directly from NASA. Oh, it's Amsterdam. Right. It's an odd story. It's an odd story. You call it odd. I call it telling. But let's see. But the problem is NASA didn't give it to them. No one's sure how it got there. Some moon rocks, though, are tested to be real. Okay, the Soviet Union, it would, first off, it's difficult to test a moon rock. What would you test it against? Do you see? Because we have rocks on this planet that have come from other planets that you can pick up. They don't have to come from the moon. How would you test a rock to say this is definitely from the moon, unless you live on the moon and you got them in your backyard and you can just test them? So it's not an odd story. They know full well what they were given. They absolutely know that it was given to them by NASA. No one knows how they got it. No, it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery. The mystery was unraveled when they tested it, and it tested to be petrified wood, you see. The mystery has been solved. The mystery is, are the rocks they're saying from the moon, and the solved part of it is they're not. So you have the fake that you just spoke about, which is the petrified wood, and the news that's telling about it. So if you want to say fake news, that's what you're talking about. So I'll go further. Okay. So right now, our technology, okay, has us limited. And they say we have to reinvent everything about going to the moon. Okay? We would have to reinvent the technology to get us there and to get back, and that it's impossible to recreate it, and that they magically lost all the telemetry data. Now, they did get caught faking video. There is fake video of a fake moon landing. It could have been their first try. It could have been footage they were going to add to it later. It could be footage that just made it to the cutting room floor. The whole situation was that even if we didn't make it there, that they were going to fake it, is what they're saying. The truth is, they could have faked the whole thing and used the money for other purposes. And that would have been the greatest scam and idea ever. And we know that there are scams out there that right now, I mean, you can look at all of the things that have came up that were money scams, like all of the foundations that people came up with and had other countries give money to, even though, and you see how some politicians, they start out and they've got a job that pays $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year as a politician, and yet they come out of there with millions and millions and millions of dollars because people give to their PACs, and that's legal, but then somehow they get money from other places. Well, the government has to run on things too, and they have to have big budgets that are not accountable to anybody. So that would have been a good milk cow, if you will. And currently, we only have the ability, they say, unless you think or believe that there is a secret space program, which some people have talked about, with advanced technology of travel, which would really make sense, us getting rid of the shuttle program that had 60% of its life left in it, but we dismantled it and got rid of it, and hug the space shuttle because we're supposed to love it, and put it in a museum and drive it down the road so everybody can see it like a parade, and when they could have just dropped it in somewhere, right? Well, we could have been landing our astronauts. Instead, they're splashing down in the ocean, which we have a problem with sharks in Maine and all along the coast now. Some weird stuff happening. One woman got ate up by one and died. Another kid got bit on the foot. Yeah, there's a lot of sharks. So we're dropping them in shark-infested waters. I guess, well, we dropped them in the Gulf this time. And so SpaceX has stepped up to the plate with their little splashdown vehicle, but that still doesn't get us up to the space station. We have no way to get up there except for the Soyuz Russian rocket, which thank them for the ride. So, but we can't leave the Van Allen belt. There's just a little issue with that. But China has got color pictures of our very dark moon, our gray moon, that, oh no, there's no color. It's void of color, they say. It's all gray. It's just one color. Everything's one color. Well, not so much. There's browns and all kinds. So, further from that, they lost all the telemetry data. A lot of the video from the moon is missing. Supposedly, there's also buggies that we left up there, and they were able to put one together from under the vehicle. Because always the magical question was, when there was a camera outside of the vehicle that filmed the vehicle, where the hell was the buggy at? That was a major question. Where was the buggy on the vehicle? How did it? Oh, well, it was under it, and we put it together into, okay. Or they did it slow motion out in the desert at low light and this kind of thing. So let's go to another problem, though. Another one of the problems is this. They have contradicting interviews between the astronauts. They're good guys. I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just saying there's contradiction in their testimony on video camera tape. What they did was they said that when you go through the Van Allen belt, if you did, when all of the rays that are built up in that area, and plus cosmic rays and gamma rays from past it that are not being blocked, you would see laser beams like going into the back of your eyes, even if your eyes were closed. So they asked them, did this happen to you? And the 2-in-1 interview said, oh no, that didn't happen. No, we didn't have any. I didn't see anything. Must have been a quick little thing when you went through the Van Allen belt. Okay. And even beyond. Well, then later they were asked and they said, you know what? I think we did see those. I think that. So the later interview, they're remembering things they didn't remember in the earlier interview that would have been scientifically proven that either you had went through the door or you had not been through the door and you didn't know what was on the other side. So over and above that, when they got into space, they asked them the question, could you see the stars? Were the stars so visible and so beautiful? And could you see the galaxies? Now, I'm going to say this. This is something you don't know unless you've been to higher elevations, but I'm going to explain something to you. I drove a truck from Kansas to Colorado about every week, and I would stop at the Kansas rest area and I would look up, because Denver, Colorado is known as Mile High. They call it Mile High because it's like 15, it's that high. The elevation is a little over 1 mile. There's less oxygen. It will affect you if you ever drive to Denver, Colorado. When you stop at that rest area, you'll be short of breath. The first time you go up there, you'll be that way a couple of days till you're acclimated to it, because it's not like when you're climbing Everest where you get used to it little by little. You climb up a little bit and you come back down, you climb, and you get acclimated. You're driving 70 miles an hour on an incline and you're getting down and you're not changing anything with the atmosphere in your truck, and you're even blowing through a filter. You've got oxygen in your truck, but then when you open that door at the rest area, it all hits you all at once. That's the effect that happens. So that's once you get to Denver, the state, there, that rest area past Kansas. So you get off at the first rest area for us. I'm sorry, not Denver, Colorado. The first rest area for Colorado from Kansas going west on I-70, and you get out and it'll affect you. But now when you look up, because you're almost at the high elevation of Denver, but there's no light pollution of the city. There's no light pollution. You look up, you can see the whirls and swirls of galaxies. You can see stars that you've never seen. And I'm not talking about with a telescope, a pair of binoculars. You just look up. All you have to do on this planet is look up once you get into Colorado in the rest area at night, and you will see the most beautiful heavens you've ever seen in your life. Any truck driver that's going that way, you can do that and tell me I'm not telling the truth here. It's true, and the ones that have done it, they know it. It's just by accident. You look up, you're like, whoa, what's that about? It's almost like you're in a planetarium and it's being broadcast and shown up on the ceiling or something. It's beautiful. So why would you not be able to see that without our atmosphere from space? You should be able to. You should be able to from the moon. And there is a way when the Earth is going through space and the moon's traveling around it. Now, we always see the same side of the moon. The question is, while you're on the moon, why would you not see the stars and the galaxies and the clusters of galaxies that I could see on the Earth in Colorado? Okay. They asked the astronauts, while you're on the moon, could you see the galaxies? And they said, oh no, it's just the darkness of space. It's all so dark. It's dark. You can't see anything. It's just so dark, right? They have to get their lies straight at some point. They can't give conflicting reports. It's one thing if you would say, oh, well, maybe you can't. But then other astronauts said that you could. So why do you have conflicting reports from one astronaut to another of what was visible? All of them were tested. They were all tested against the effects of gravity on their body, going through a centrifuge and pulling G's, on their mind through stress tests, on their vision through vision tests. They all came out to be fit as a fiddle. And yet they have completely different stories over what they saw and what could be seen, what color it was, and what happened when they went through the Van Allen belt. The truth is, if they went through it, the radiation in that area, but also from the sun itself, once they broke through and there was no more shielding, would have given them cancer. They probably would have died of radiation in about 3 days, maybe 5. And the color pictures from China don't help the case saying that the entire place was gray. It doesn't help it a whole lot. Now I'll get to the comments here. My point being, we magically lost all the telemetry data. We can't reproduce what we did in the 70s because we were so much smarter back then, right? And we haven't gone back to the moon since. Our technology wasn't there, I guess, right? But it was at one time, but we forgot it, right? So, the gamma rays going through space would go right through people. We haven't figured that out. We've got a sun that's going to burn out and expand and envelope our planet and get rid of all of our protection. Our atmosphere is going to be gone. We do need to learn how to get through that Van Allen belt. We do need to learn how to get to another star that will support life before such time as that happens. But the question is, have we done it yet? So I pose the question to anyone who thinks they can answer all of those problems and tell me how it is that we spent billions of dollars on a space program and lost all the telemetry data. We can't reproduce it, and the best we can do now, we can't even get up to our own space station. We have to hitch a ride from Russia on a Soyuz rocket, which is 70s technology, 60s technology. It's a good rocket. They're trustworthy. They're good rockets. And we appreciate the ride. But that only gets us as far as our space station. So, my question is, how is it that we're giving away pieces of the moon that are petrified wood? How is it they know that they have some fake video of landing, and that all of the video that they've got, it does show that it's gray? So they scaled it all to gray. Everybody says it's gray, but China's got some pretty good color images. I'll check these comments real quick, because I had quite a few even from the same person, and I don't mind. Let's see here. So back to the original comment that they made. Daniel Adam. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went to the moon. Yeah, we'll go back to that. Did they? Did they now? After everything I just said. So I heard this around, it's not flat. I believe that part. Fake news. Fake news is when the news talks about a fake rock from NASA that's actually petrified wood. Let's see, well, isn't gray a color? Gray is a color. It's just not the color of the moon. So anybody that went there that says it was is wrong. There's a documentary, I believe it's on Apollo 17, in which they found orange or similar color to that on the moon. Yes, so, well, if that's true, how come the astronauts said it was gray? All right. And you're thinking of John Glenn. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's who it was. And the reason the shuttle can't go to the moon is because it weighs 80 tons. Yeah, you get 80 tons going in any direction. No, it can actually go around. Let's see. The shuttle didn't go to the moon. The Apollo capsule went to the moon. Takes let's see, which is not possible in 3,800 meters a second. Oh no, you can go as fast as you want in the shuttle. It's just all about what would hit it and go through it. If there's any dust. Let's see here. Space dust traveling fast will go right through it. Let's see. NASA got rid of the shuttle program due to the 2 fatal accidents they had with it. Oh, but no, they sent up shuttles after those. See, you have to understand something. They or oh, wait. I don't know if they did it after the Columbia. They did one after the Challenger though, but one was because of the rocket boosters and the O-rings, and the other was because of a tile that was damaged when something fell on it off the tower when it took off, and it damaged it, and then that plasma came into the void. Okay, so they were still viable. Let's see. The show was only made to orbit the Earth. Okay, then riddle me this one. Why can't we make anything to orbit the moon? We probably, like I said, never could. You're not getting this. Once in lower Earth orbit is LEO. It takes 30 to get to the moon. 10, okay. All right, so here's the thing. No, you're not getting this. The space shuttle rocket boosters are powerful enough to get us into space. The external tank is then let off, and we still have large engines on the back of the shuttle that could have done more than what the Apollo lunar lander did. I mean, not to land it. It wouldn't be the lander. The capsule. Okay. Once you get anything going in a certain direction, once it breaches out of space, it'll continue in that direction. They do the rollover, they go into space, it's going in that direction. You're already leaving Earth. It's the gravity to get it into space that holds you back. Once you're in space, so here's what I'm saying. Once we sent the Voyager probe into space and let it go, it was traveling in that direction. Then we used Jupiter to make it faster to slingshot the Voyager 1 past Voyager 2, which made it Voyager 1. Once you get a shuttle going in that direction, it's going to continue in that direction because of the laws of physics. It is this. An object in motion will stay in motion until acted on by an outside force. Once you have left Earth's gravity, you will no longer be acted on by the outside force. They use Earth's gravity to continue going around the Earth to get to the space station. However, if your trajectory was away from the Earth, you will leave it, period. If it's towards the moon, you will continue in that direction. So, like I said, they've got color pictures of the moon. Let's see what we got here. So when you say, I'm not getting this, the reason I'm not getting your comment is because it's not true. Yeah, the Amsterdam petrified wood moon rock is an odd story. It's not just an odd story, it's true news. It's news. Oh yes, NASA did give it to them. That's why it was news. Okay. Let's see. Yo-Yo Christian Cuevas. Malibu's most wanted. Malibu wants him. All right, I got you, Yo-Yo. Soviet Union did its own sample return missions with robots. That is believable. What's not believable is that people saw only gray on a planet that recently we have now color pictures of in video, and that they brought back petrified wood, and that they didn't see anything going into their eyes that would have driven them crazy like dancing stars, and it's called gamma rays. And but really it's the let's see, the charged particles that are in the Van Allen belt would have, in that area, been a lot stronger, and both times they passed through it, leaving and coming back, would have fried their retinas with their eyes closed. So it never happened. And the radiation would have killed them within 3 to 5 days. It would have been like going to Chernobyl. You can't go through the Van Allen belt. I'm going to say this again. You can't go through that Van Allen belt. And then I'm going to say this. If you can go through the Van Allen belt, let us know, because we want to know, because we can't. So The Van Allen belt is in between us and the moon. That poses a problem to anyone saying they went to the moon and brought back petrified wood. Because as much as I'd like to believe there's trees on the moon, and as much as I'd like to believe that it's gray, we have proof otherwise. There's probably not trees up there. And we also have proof that there are color pictures of the moon and it's not gray. Also, you should have a view of space that would be heavenly. You should be able to look up and see a lot more than what is restricted due to our atmosphere. Our atmosphere stops light from traveling through it and slows it down. It slows down the speed of light. Okay, the speed of light is what light can travel at. When shining light through the atmosphere, it slows down. When shining it further through water, it slows it down even further. So it is not just slowed down, but some light is filtered, not sun, but some light, as in a few rays out of a million, is actually stopped from coming through our atmosphere. So you won't be able to see some distant stars that you would be able to see if you were outside of our atmosphere. And they have no pictures of the Earth from far away that have not been doctored. There's a guy that if you look up, it's called, the most famous picture that he doctored was called the Blue Marble. Why did they have to fake that one? He said they must fake them all. What does that mean? It means we have no view of it. And it's his job to make it kind of pretty. And he took whirls and patterns and pictures from different areas and copied and pasted them, but they were the same whirls, so it made it look fake. And people looked at it and said, that's the same whirl of clouds as over there. Why is that? And they asked the question and posed the question. So you have contradicting reports of different astronauts with different stories. Some of them say that it was all black space and you couldn't see anything. Some of them say you could see everything. Some of them say they didn't see anything when they went through the Van Allen belt that went into their eyes and burned their retinas or anything like that. Later they say, I think we did see something because they found out that it's theoretically impossible to go through that and not have that happen to you. It would be an effect that would happen to you. So, why haven't we gone back to the moon? Well, maybe it's because we never went there in the first place. But they've got some really good video. But have you ever seen a Transformers movie? It's convincing. You ever seen a alien spacecraft and aliens from Hollywood? It's pretty convincing. Movie magic. It's good stuff. Chroma key. Now here's a problem with some of the stuff on the space station too. Here's a little problem. It costs something like, I don't know, something like $10,000 per ounce to put something up into space is what they say. I'm not sure the exact amount. I think it was 10,000 per ounce. But yet they have children's books and all kinds of things that they're reading up there to children, because that's where they want to indoctrinate you, is at your earliest age, that they sit there and read books to children from space. They have all these flags back behind them in the background and all this stuff, all these little knickknacks. That would have cost all of it millions of dollars to have gotten there and would have been a waste of space when they could have used more space for food or for, oxygen, things like that. So it's gotten to the point where they do use chroma key, and they've admitted to it. Now there's a picture of George Bush Sr. being pushed through NASA's headquarters, and behind him, either by accident or on purpose, is a screen where they have an astronaut who was supposed to be in space at the time standing in front of a grid background, and the grid background is specifically developed to be used with chroma key. Chroma key is like green screen, only it's the best green screen you could imagine, and it's very believable. I mean, it's way better than Hollywood's version of green screen. It's unintelligible from someone actually being there. You can't tell the difference. But he was supposed to be on the space station at the time, and yet, when they pushed George Bush Sr. through there in the wheelchair, he says, I've been here before. You know, he's joking around. And the guy who was doing the video panned past and stopped for a second on the screen, showing the astronaut that was supposed to be in space in front of a screen behind him that was a grid pattern set up for chroma key. So they were filming a fake scene behind a real person, and he was supposed to be in space. So there's a lot of discrepancies in everything that has to do with the moon. I'm not talking about space. I'm not talking about our planet as being round or flat. Not at all. Because I believe our planet's round. It actually makes sense for an object that it's actually oblate. It's a little wider in the middle, and there's mountains. But for an object that has taken on other mass that's been added to it, traveling through space, that used to be part of something else, it'd be kind of a round kind of an object. And all of the views of the moon and everything else says that they are also round. It's just a little problem of the Van Allen belt. It's not a little problem, it's a big problem. And until we admit that problem, and until someone comes up with a way and actually works on it, first the public's going to have to say, okay, so we have a problem we have to solve. What is it? Oh, we can't get past the Van Allen belt. Then they're going to have to admit, oh yeah, we kind of never went to the moon. Yeah, that kind of never happened because we can't get past the Van Allen belt. Then we'll have to invent a way to get past the Van Allen belt. Once we come to that truth, and once we invent a way to get past it, then we'll be cooking with gas. Then we'll be able to get to the next step, which is either faster than light travel, which ain't going to happen, or bending time and space so that we can get to another nearby star or farther away star, it doesn't matter at that point, that is not as old as our star, that will continue to give us life. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if you care about having children and grandchildren and oh, of course you would care about your family. Well, here's the problem. How can you say that you would care about them if you don't care about their great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, or however many generations it goes? I don't think that we've got but a couple thousand years left, that are going to be burned up by an envelope of a expanding star at the end of its life. Like, how can you say, well, what about them? What would you do about them? Well, oh, I'm not worried about them right now. Well, you should be, because someone has to be. You can't put it on a generation 20 generations from now to come up with the answer that you could be working on right now. And the only way that we can come up with that answer is to admit that there's a problem in the first place, to admit that we need to come up with an answer. So it's kind of like this. You can't say that 20 years from now someone's going to invent an 18-wheeler that's going to bring food to everyone, but in the meantime not work on inventing the fuel that it's going to need. You have to start with what you can do. What you can do is you can admit to the truth, admit to the problem, and then come up with a solution for the problem. The problem is the Van Allen belt. So, no suit will get you past it. No ship that we have currently will get you past it. Here's why. Gamma rays go through the earth. They go through you and me, and they go through the earth. Now, we don't feel it when they do. Our body repairs itself as if it was a wound. It's tiny enough that evidently we can live through it, and it doesn't happen that often because our atmosphere does shield most of it. But they have got mines that go down miles deep where people do research underground in order to catch gamma rays, because they go through the earth, but no other ray does. So if you see a ray going through granite, you know it's a gamma ray. It's hard to understand that gamma rays go through granite. But once you understand that, you'll understand how many of them are deflected or absorbed by our atmosphere and by the Van Allen belt, by our gravitational field that we have around us. That once you get outside of that, you would be bombarded with them and you would die. It's a little bit of a problem. We got to work on that. If it can go through granite, it will go through aluminum. We got to come up with something, maybe a bow shock wave of a force field kind of a thing, magnetic field around a craft so that we can get through the Van Allen belt. Otherwise, we can throw all the robots we want into space and they'll make it, but we won't. Class is dismissed. That's all I got. That's all you need to hear. There's a problem, come up with a solution. Or point to the person who has a solution and who claims that we can get through Van Allen belt, because the shuttle can't go through it. And it is the same aluminum that the Apollo craft were made of, that the capsules were made of. However, it also had tiles on each side of it. Now, one side of the tiles were for extremely high heat. That's the black side. That's the bottom side, which is why the shuttle rolled over. So that side would be facing the sun, because there's an unimaginable amount of heat and radiation that comes from the sun, even just outside of our atmosphere. But they've said our atmosphere actually envelopes the moon, some of it. It's a different type of atmosphere. They just realized that is there. But our actual, what you would call the Earth's atmosphere just for our planet, outside of that, there's a lot of radiation from the sun. And there's a lot of extreme temperature differences between the shade on one side of the shuttle and the direct sunlight. So they have to fly upside down with the windows of the top of the shuttle facing the Earth and the bottom tiles that are black. The top tiles are white. So, but they've canceled that program. They mothballed it for one reason or another. But we still have our military one, and whatever craft that we may have gotten, because they admitted to having a craft. I believe that that's those Tic Tacs. There's 40-something, 50-something feet long otherworldly craft that were basically flying around in one area. The Navy was tracking them for weeks. Then they finally got an airplane out there to check it out, and he chased them around, and that's been declassified. I've got video of that. That may be hard to believe too. So we have one of those craft, but I don't know that that would take a person through the Van Allen belt. You can always put a drone anywhere. So it's probably unmanned, but as big as they were, they could have had people in them, or alien beings in them, but they would not have, they would have had to have traveled through space and time, not through a radioactive field that would kill them. It kills all matter. Radiation does. It's like Chernobyl. Ask anybody that was told to clean up Chernobyl. Well, you can't ask them. They're not here anymore. There's a few that work there that might still be, but they're taking all kinds of medicine to cure them of the radiation sickness they had. And they'll probably die of the cancers they have. One guy has a very large head and neck. There's a video of him. They offered him treatment. He's like, no, there's no point. So I'll have to put some of those links up. If you got anything else to say, feel free to say it. But you can absolutely send a robot if it's shielded enough to get through the Van Allen belt in the first place. They do wrap them. Then it'll be good when it gets there. But even robots are not impervious to radiation. They found that out because they can't even get one into the Fukushima plant to shut the thing down. We've got basically all the reactors in Fukushima have almost hit China syndrome. It was melt down. It went through the concrete floor. They don't know how deep they are. It's leaking into the ocean all the time. You can't get those certain kind of tuna because they're so radiation filled, it's not even funny. And other fish probably, anything around that area, but even in the ocean itself, all of those cesium-139 and all of the nuclear nucleotides, if you call them that, all the atoms that are radioactive that are coming off that plant have a half-life of, you know, million years, 500,000 years, different dates. We're not going to outlive the problem that's created by Fukushima. And that is the same type of radiation that you would have to go through in the Van Allen belt. Only it's created in a star far away, and our own, but all of the stars send off radiation. We're just shielded from it. So you can't get robots to fix Fukushima, just like you can't get robots on their own without some kind of shielding to even go through the Van Allen belt. Now, like I said, you can shield them enough, you can make the rover work, right? If it's shielded in the first place. But a person, it will affect them. It will change their DNA. So it's nice that we've now got a return trip. Now we're going to have to come up with some other way to get up there, because really we can't rely on the Russians forever to go up to the space station. We can't even really rely on them to be on the space station. They try to drill a hole in there. Now, it could be some holdover problems from the ones that were shaken and had all the vibration problems that made them mentally whatever, and one of them pulled a knife on the other one and all that. Maybe you don't know about that. That happened on the Mir space station. There was a vibration in that thing that bothered them, and it was day and night while they were up there, always bothering them. It's sensory overload is what it's called, but it's almost like a torture. And one of them pulled a knife on the other one. So, but while in the International Space Station, one of them recently tried to drill his way out with a drill. He drilled a hole. I think it was to kill everybody on board, if you ask me, but they did find it and they plugged it. But he was the worst driller ever. He didn't make a pilot punch. He took the drill bit to the wall and it whirled and whirled, and then it went in. And you could tell, if you've ever drilled with a drill gun, the marks it made, that you know it was a drill, and you know the guy couldn't quite hold it correctly and couldn't get it to start. But he did drill through, and space came in there, and you know, the vacuum of space. Basically, they felt the issue. They had sensors that were going off and couldn't figure out what the problem was, and then they put this putty in there, because they do have dust going through space at millions of miles an hour that does go through. It can go through the shuttle, it can go through any kind of spacecraft, and they have had it go through the space station, and they know what to do when that happens. But I don't know how long we can trust. Even it's supposed to be a peaceful, worldly mission up there, but they're trying to drill holes in the thing. So maybe he was a holdover from the Mir station, and he had that vibration thing affected him, or I don't know that he would have been that old. I don't know. But he tried to sabotage the space station. It's amazing it's still up there. So if you want to talk about that or say anything about that, that happened too, and that's not fake news either. So you get to check out these awesome trucks. These things actually go where they're supposed to go and where we say we go. If we say we're going to go somewhere, we actually go there. It's the dangest thing. It's almost like we're telling the truth about what we do, right? So if you can find a way out of the Van Allen belt, let me know, because we need you. Our world needs you. If you're the smartest person in the room, raise your hand and let us know you are. Anybody wants to make some comments, you go ahead, and then I'm gonna get off this thing. I'm gonna smoke a cigar. But yeah, the Soviet Union did put robots in places, and guess what? They probably have color pictures of it too. They even joke. Have you not heard where the Russians will say, "You're supposed to be so smart, you Americans. You sent someone to the moon. You walked on the moon." They laugh about it. It's funny to them, because they pretty well have a good idea that it didn't happen too. We're not all stupid. The planet is not all stupid. We have actually become more intelligent in the past 20 years than they ever thought we would. Okay? It's like ham radio is the start of the internet. They thought they'd never get out of the backyard. They bouncing signals off the ionosphere and then off the ground whenever the skip is bad, you know, when the weather's different. So we've been able to spread knowledge just by communications. Communications will bear the truth out. The world is now connected. We're making each other more informed by the second, by the millisecond at this point, now that they've got all of the fiber optic lines in and people are getting uber fast internet. So 5G is supposed to be even faster. That's just so they can trade stocks faster than the guy down the street. So yeah, it's kind of hard to hold back the world now. We're a little smarter than the 60s and 70s. Give us something better and show us the real problems and we'll come up with real solutions. Like these real trucks that are really doing work. You want to know what real work is? It's when you unload a trailer. So yeah, so there's that. I'm gonna have this cigar, make a few comments, and then I'm gonna shut this thing down. But you're welcome to, you can stay. Nobody's gonna kick you out. You can stay right there on the floorboard, and I'll throw a blanket on you so you don't get cold, and you can stay. But I gotta go. So like I said, first I'm gonna smoke this cigar for a bit and give you a chance to, you can debunk me if you think you might. And you're welcome to. All of this will bear fruit very soon, because now that they're admitting to the craft and there's going to be a little more disclosure, there's a few more things coming out that I already know about, but you don't know about it, but I know about it, but I'm gonna let you know what I know about it. That kind of thing. It's real. And yeah, there's problems with space flight that only exist because we haven't done it. And we haven't done it, but we kind of said we already did. That creates its own set of problems. And petrified wood does not come from the moon. Not in my book. It might come from a flat planet somewhere, but not in my book. So, as you could probably tell from the reflection, I am trying to cut a cigar using a light as best as I know how. There we go. Ah, that's decent. Got this little charger thing, and it's supposed to be decent for well, it's got a little flasher. Supposed to be decent for charging, and it works. It's nuclear. It's got a well, can you see right here? Maybe you can't. There you go. See that? It's a solar panel. It's nuclear. Works from the sun. The sun's nuclear. So that's my claim to that, is that's my nuclear charger. All it is a solar panel. And I'm not showing you black and white gray photos and saying it's only gray, because it's actually green and black. No reason for me to lie to you, right? So people, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I've got some people that were, you know, we're truckers, and a lot of them are working tomorrow and they're sleeping and that kind of thing. But I had to put this out simply because SpaceX finally got a way to splash us down. Be nice if they figure out a way to send us up, wouldn't it? Just don't go too far, SpaceX, because Van Allen belt. Work on that one. I think I got him on that one. What do you think? So, it's really nice though, and it's a religion. If you believe that we went to the moon and that all of these things that you've been told are true, that's fine. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you that science argues with what they told you. And it may not ever be possible, but we hope it is before the sun envelopes the earth and burns us up. So there's that. When will that happen? If we're lucky, a couple thousand years from now, if we have that much time. They're talking millions. They that say that are the same ones that will give you the finest video of chroma key you've ever seen. Oh, it's cinematic quality. It would take Metro-Goldwyn and Meyer to copy that. But It doesn't make it true. It just makes it special effects. So, anybody has anything to say, I am listening. I welcome all detractors. I really do. Because science can't be refuted. It's what they supposedly used to go to the moon. It's just a little problem with that. Science come back to bite them when people figured out. Van Allen belt. Look up Van Allen. He was pretty smart. Not only that, once you go to Mars, you won't be able to come back. So there's that. They're talking about trying to send something up there, the gold box. I already know about the gold box. It makes oxygen, and then they're going to, once that works, send something bigger and send something that will make more oxygen and store it in tanks. And then they'll have tanks and tanks and tanks of oxygen sitting there waiting to be used on Mars. There's a problem. They couldn't get people even on Earth to live in the biodome. It didn't work. First, they brought in stuff they weren't supposed to. Then something happened where somebody got hurt and they had to be brought out. That broke the rules. Most of the problem we're going to have in space is first aid. Anything that goes through a shuttle will go through you. You'll bleed internally and die. What do you then do with the body? Right? They even had a problem on the Mir space station. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And there was some kind of a problem. And as it turns out, the sweat from the astronauts' bodies and the bacteria that they produced in the air wound up getting behind one of the panels, and it coalesced there because the heat drew it in. And when they removed that panel, this big nasty ball of bacteria and sweat and fungus and who knows what else was the size of a basketball. And that's what shorted it out. See, they had to go in there and repair this thing, and they couldn't figure out what was making all of the lights go out on it. It was dead when they got into it. So they went in there and they removed a panel, and then they found that. So that's a little problem in space. If something like that were to happen on the way to Mars, that would be a real problem. But it did happen with the Mir. They got it back on. They got some things repowered. That happened once. But then the vibration drove them mad. Made them crazy. It's not their fault. They were good people. But basically, sensory overload, sensory deprivation, those type of tortures like sleep deprivation work 100% of the time, and they will affect even the strongest minded individual. It's not their fault. So being that there wasn't vibration on our space station, I think that guy was ordered to drill a hole in it. I think it was to tank the program. That's just my opinion. If you can tell me why a Russian astronaut drilled a hole in the space station, you may have a better answer than me. What you don't have a better answer for is why all of the astronauts who went to the moon said it was gray and it was colorless, but yet China has color pictures. And there's all kinds of different browns and this and that. It's mostly brown. It's actually brown. So, y'all stay safe. I'm going to get off this thing. Maybe I should give you a few more minutes to comment. I mean, you're welcome to comment. I see no detractors because I've only put up truth. And it's irrefutable proof. You don't find trees on the moon. There's no petrified trees. There's just not. And you would be able to see all of the stars and all of the galaxies, but they say, oh no, it's only black. No, it's only black. Even though there's no atmosphere on the moon to stop you from seeing 100% of all the galaxies and clusters. 100% of them. You would be overwhelmed with the view of stars and clusters. So then there's that. But first you'd go through the Van Allen belt and you would be radiated. Worse than Chernobyl. Oh boy, 500 times worse than Chernobyl. I don't think you'd live 2 days, but I'd give it 3. If you lived a full 5 days, that would be amazing to me. You might want to go into cancer research or let them use your body when they bring it back to do research. Somehow you went 5 days with no atmosphere, hit by gamma rays and all the sun's radiation, because the entire spaceship would be radiated like a bell ringing with radiation. It would glow just from the radiation. Yeah, that would be something else. You would look about in the same shape as the depressurized ones that there were some cosmonauts that came down and they died. I'll try to put a link up to that too. They've got them on a postage stamp and it shows how they looked, but it shows them like as skeletons or something weird. But they died because a valve went bad and opened up while they were still in space, and so immediately they went through all the effects of that and they died. So when they came down, there was no saving them, even though they tried. They gave them CPR. You'd be in worse shape than that if you went through the Van Allen belt, guaranteed. It would do things to you. You would die of the pain. Your body would shut down from shock, from the pain that's caused from all of the holes from gamma rays and all the radiation that would explode your body. It would be similar to the radiation effects that happened to the sailors after the nuclear testing, where their legs swelled, then swelled more, and then they finally split open. That would be the effect of the radiation on your body. You couldn't live through that. So there's that, but it's nice that we have a way to come back from the space station. We just got to go further. SpaceX, work on a way of getting past the Van Allen belt and tell us all about it. And don't give us petrified wood. People, I'm going to get off this thing. But you can chew on that for a while. And I'll put up links to a few things I talked about. Maybe I'll find the links where the astronauts are contradicting each other and themselves. Where in one interview they say they didn't see anything. And then the next, oh yeah, when we went through we might have had those visions when maybe we did. Maybe they did. Maybe it was all just a vision in chroma key in a Hollywood basement. So our joke as truck drivers is when we go to a parking lot that's not paved like this one and there's a bunch of big potholes, is that this must be where they filmed the moon landing because of all the potholes. Well, I'm not sure where it was, but I'm thinking Arizona somewhere. Just got here, we have to go back and listen. This sounds interesting. And no, we didn't go to the moon. It's just a distraction. I appreciate the words, I wouldn't say encouragement, because you didn't hear the earlier part. So I'd have to call them for you vindicating my consensus of the whole situation. And if you have that idea in your head that we didn't go to the moon, you're going to love what I've already said, because I took on all detractors. They really got quiet when they started hearing that there's color pictures of the moon when our astronauts said it was gray, and where we couldn't explain why we gave petrified wood that was petrified to another country and said, look what we brought back from the moon. So there's a few little discrepancies, and then there's the whole Van Allen belt that would kill you if you went through it. So yeah, you'll enjoy it, and I will let this go, and I'm going to let it go for now. We can revisit it. It doesn't mean, and in any video you can always ask me about a different one. I'm gonna get off this thing though. I will have to get started in the morning and go actually do some real stuff, because I do real stuff, not like what other people do, fake stuff, and they claim to do real stuff. And I'll be doing work, so there's that. I'm going to get off this thing, but you will enjoy the other part of this video, simply because I touch on pretty well most of the topics that everybody says that, hey, we call BS on that, and here's why. So y'all stay safe. I'm gonna get off this thing. I'll find a couple of links real quick, and I'll get more of them on there tomorrow. But enjoy the SpaceX thing, because they've got a way to get us down We just got to find a way to get us back up, and maybe a way to get us past that pesky Van Allen belt that proves that no one went anywhere. You know what I mean? So y'all stay safe. We'll talk to you later. Peace.